Hello, and welcome back to What Now on the Threshold of Life, Death, and Grief. And I'm here in the studio with my friends and colleagues,
David Kennedy
and Red Keating.
And I'm Julie Brown. And today we are delighted to invite a guest, Kerri Parnell. Welcome, Kerri.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So excited for this conversation, and listeners are going to understand why in just a moment. I'm just going to do a little introduction of you. So Kerri is an artist and resides in Winnipeg, Manitoba. She studied at the University of Manitoba School of Art and the Nova Scotia College of Art and Design. Her three favorite things in life are people, art, and spirit. And she is a tattoo artist, in specifically a cremation tattoo artist. And we're going to learn all about what that is in a moment. And when I was perusing your website and looking at testimonials, one of the testimonials said she's a healer with ink. So welcome, Kerri. Let's dive in.
Great, thanks. Yeah, so I have been an artist my whole life. And then 3 years ago, I transitioned into tattoo work. And in the process of learning tattooing, I learned that the first tattoo was actually with wood ashes. And back then in the 1600s, tattoos were very specific. They were markings of rites of passage or hierarchy within the tribes or their people. And so very, very special tattoos. And what I liked about that was the meaning behind tattoos, specifically when it comes to memorialization. And right around that time, my grandmother passed. And so it was her ashes that got me inspired to do research into the mixing of cremation ashes into tattoo ink. And my family was so gracious to let me use her ashes for all the experimenting and talking with scientists and going to crematoriums and stuff. That's how it all came to be. And I just love it.
So that's how cremation tattoos came to be.
Yeah. That's how it came to be.
Yeah.
And that's a real challenge to, as I understand it, the mixing of cremation remains with ink to get the right consistency to be able to do tattoos. And I understand you have kind of found your own way through that challenge.
Yes. And so when I did the research, I found that there was two companies, one in the UK, one in the States, that make the cremation ink. What I didn't like about that was you have to mail your ashes in the mail. It takes 4 weeks for the ink to get back. You don't really know what's in the bottle. The risk of the ashes being lost in transit. I felt like it was there was a very large disconnect. I'm the first cremation tattoo studio, I believe worldwide, where it's focused in a holistic in-house way. It's more like a spa. So it's also an alternate tattoo area that's not the traditional tattoo salon. It's very private. It's very, white and sterile and just intimate and spiritual. And what I wanted to do was to mix the ink with the clients in-house. They can see the process, they can see it happening, and then they can watch it go into and with them for the rest of their life. What I really like about that as well is that one of my clients said after the tattoo, she says, "Oh, I'm so grateful I don't have to physically carry him around anymore," because she would carry the ashes to coffee, to the beach, to wherever she went. And then she's like, "I'm forever connected." And so my slogan is linked together forever, because you are forever, forever, forever.
I just want to take a step back, because you started with, in the 1600s, wood ash.
Yes.
And I'm wondering how the leap gets made. First of all, was it the ash that created the color of the ink way back when?
So ash is carbon, and carbon is what tattoo ink is made out of.
Okay.
Cremation remains is ash, which is also carbon. So it's actually it's more full circle than we think. Some people, when they think about cremation tattoos, they go, oh, that's so weird. That's so, it's not for them. But Conrad Sweatman, the reporter for the Free Press, he made a good point. He said it was 40 years ago when cremation actually took place. And a lot of people at that time thought it was very odd that bodies were being cremated and not put into the ground at a burial site. So it's only in the last, few decades that cremation itself is become more commonplace. In fact, 80% of people now are being cremated. And so I believe that cremation tattoos, it's so new and it's so foreign to so many people, but I believe in the next decades to come, it's going to be commonplace, even if it's a dot or a line or just something that we can connect with our loved ones who have passed over, who I believe aren't necessarily gone. I just believe they're in a different realm and they're with us. We just can't see them. So we could stay connected.
It certainly is this unique coming together. As you say, cremation here in Peterborough, it's actually over 90% cremation rate. But that also, there's also the rise of tattoos, where tattooing has become a very common expression for many, many things. But certainly grief, and in all of the three of us in our history of working with people in grief, tattoos are one of the things that people immediately think of if they're looking for ways to ritualize and to memorialize not just the person, but probably the relationship. What that relationship means to them is often reflective in the tattoo they choose.
Right. And Dr. Bruce Martin is a palliative care physician in Winnipeg, Manitoba. He came and found me. He's well versed in his practice. Everybody knows him. He's just phenomenal. But he says that in the science or in the medical world, peer review literature is what is needed for the academia of the medical world to adopt new standard of practice.
Yes.
And so he correlated Susan Cadell, who is a doctor in Ontario, who did a literature or an article that's published in the medical literature about tattoos and memorialization. We've recently connected through email, so we're going to connect because she has a whole. Are you guys familiar with Susan Cadell?
Yes, I am. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she has a published article about tattoos and memorialization and how it helps patients. And now the cremation tattoo is just adding on to that it's taking it to the next level where it's just even more of a honoring and connection and grieving process. And so many stories, because I sit with them for, sometimes 5-6 hours and hear their stories. And I see the transition from when they come in and when they leave. And this, for example, I tattooed a mother who she emailed me and she said, I'd like to memorialize my daughter who was born sleeping. She came in and got a tattoo, and she said that when she got home, because her daughter was waiting for the baby to come home, she said that when she came home after she got the tattoo from Willow, her little sister wrapped her arms around mine, kissed the tattoo gently, and whispered, I love my angel sister. In that moment, my heart broke and healed all at once. Mm. And it's just so many wonderful stories of all sorts of healing. And yeah.
Is there any sense of what people are looking for when they come to you? Do most of them have an idea already formulated about a tattoo, or do they come and need to explore with you some ideas around what's important and how best to do that?
Yeah, so I offer free consultations because I want people, because it's such a emotional, sensitive topic and experience. And 50% or over, I'd say 60% first time tattoos, never had a tattoo until they heard about the cremation tattoo. So I offer a free consultation and I tell them, we'll talk it out. No commitment. This is your story, your pace. If you're ready, you're ready. If you're not, you're not. And so they come and they just kind of process, okay, well, they liked birds, or, I really like their signature, or maybe dates, special dates that they can celebrate. Or a lot of parents come with drawings that their daughters or their children have done, or how they've signed their names. And so the beautiful thing about technology is that photo gets transferred onto an iPad, take away the background, and literally trace the exact name or signature or whatever, and then it's literally on their body. Daughters, for example, this mother who lost her 9-year-old had her daughter's name and a little cat drawing, and she looked at it and she just said, she's with me forever. Yeah.
Is that something you often hear? When I was reading through the testimonials on your website, it became clear, like, many of them were commenting on, like, so now I always have them with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Experiencing with my grandmother's ashes, it's a very interesting thing, because my grandmother passed, and then 4 months later, I tattooed. She was the first cremation tattoo I did on myself. And I tell you, as soon as I did it, I felt her with me more than I ever thought possible. Like, sometimes you think, well, it's just maybe a symbolic thing, or maybe it's the brain seeing the symbol, but I don't know. I feel her with me, 100 times more. So maybe it's a combination of everything, or maybe it is this like invisible thread that's connecting us. And who knows, right? That's the beauty of spirit and life and the unknown stuff that we think about.
So it's feeling like it's something different because of the ashes.
Yeah.
Because we know people have been memorializing big events, including loved ones' death, through tattoos for a really long time. It's really common, which I also think they're doing to have that sense of connection and honoring. And it's like an outward symbol to themselves, to the world. But what I'm hearing is that this is something a lot more than just symbolic.
It feels that way.
Yeah.
It feels that way. And for example, I tattooed a woman who lost her husband in 2020, so 5 years ago. And they owned a business, and she got the tattoo. She got a big quote on her forearm. The next day, she was closing up shop. They had a business that they owned. He passed. She continued to run the business. She was closing up shop. And then she got startled because she saw somebody there in her shop, and she looked, and for a brief second saw her husband. And then she said within an hour, she saw him again, and she believes it was the tattoo. And that was 5 years later. She said she's never seen him. And
as you said, that invisible thread, is there something there that enhances the connection?
Yeah. And it seems to be a common thing, of common feedback. And it just, in this business of helping memorialize and helping people grieve, and then seeing the joy, it's just this growing excitement, but also growing parallel similarities between all the stories. And it's just so neat.
Well, there certainly is a sense of mystery in any of this work, and I think all of us understand that piece. I'm wondering, Kerri, so what percentage of your clients is there a particular death that seems to be more sought after for this type of memorialization? Is it parents who have lost a child? Is it a partner? What's your experience in terms of who is it that's coming to you for different types of losses?
I would say that the percentage of parents who have lost a child and then people who have lost a partner are the top. Siblings would come below those two, but I'd say the first two would be the most, losing a child or losing a partner. I would say people with their first tattoo would be the parents who have lost a child. A lot of those people that have come to memorialize their children are getting their first tattoo. And a great story, I just love sharing this one. A father came in who lost his 34-year-old son, and he has this, gray, thick, curly chest of hair. And he got a heart with his son's fingerprint. And he told me later, because he got another tattoo that's not a cremation tattoo, that he keeps that spot shaved. And he just, so I can just picture him, and he plays pickleball, so I could just picture him walking around with this gray ball spot.
You want to see it.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a practical question?
Yes.
How much of the ash actually goes into the ink?
So I tell people to bring about a quarter teaspoon. I use just enough. There's a 6-part process to making the ink. I re-sterilize the ashes when they come, and I turn into a fine powder. And I tell people I make enough that they're in there with you, but I don't put too much that it changes the consistency of the ink. I also only make enough ink for the tattoo session itself, so that there's no wasted ink. Some people have asked, can I take the ink that's unused? And I say no, because I don't want the bloodborne pathogens, because that ink has been mixed with their blood.
Mm-hmm.
But I say I do my best, and often there's no waste. That's how I mix it. That's how I do that.
Do people ever talk about their motivations and how they heard about this and what motivates them to choose a memorial tattoo with cremated remains?
A lot of people say they saw me in the Free Press or CBC, and some say word of mouth. And when they come, some say they feel like it was a sign from their beloved who has passed over. Their motivation unanimously is to feel connected to their loved ones. I also get animals too. So dogs, I've done cats. So that's another whole beautiful relationship that, is heartbreaking when they leave us, and brings a lot of joy when they feel connected with them again.
Kerri, do you find that there's a typical window in which people come looking for this kind of thing? Like, is it further out from the death? Is it, I mean, I know you're probably, it's all different timelines, but do you find that there's a certain point at which in the grief process, people are looking for something more like this?
It's all over the map with that one. Some people come also because it's new. It's a new studio. Some people have ashes that have been there for 10 years, 5 years, never knew what they wanted to do with them. So grateful they didn't, like they're like, something told me to hold on to these ashes. I don't know why, but I couldn't scatter them. And now I'm so grateful I didn't. Some people have come, for example, Dr. Bruce Martin referred a client who lost her daughter that same month. She came and had a consultation. So it all varies. Some people aren't ready to even talk. I had a father who lost his 10-year-old daughter, and the whole session, he just sat there and cried, and we were just in silence. And I just tattooed, and we listened to music, and I asked what he was doing for the rest of the day. It was her birthday, his daughter's birthday that day. And he said, I'm going home to bake her favorite cake. And she passed months ago. So I believe 6 months ago.
I know that often when I would be doing the grief work, that the idea of tattoos came up. And I think, one of my first discussions with people was to encourage them to think about this for a period of time, simply because sometimes, the initial reaction might produce one image, but encouraging them, if this is something that is going to have meaning for the rest of your life, then let's make sure it's the right thing. So there's often that need for people to talk through. And it sounds like that's what your consultation is attempting to do with them, is to kind of talk them through what is it that's important and what images and what things that are there.
And I think that's a really good point. And there has been not very many, maybe two people that after the consultation said, I want to get it, but I'm just not quite ready. And it's interesting because they're apologetic. And I said, don't be sorry. This is on your timeline. This is, you've never experienced this, and everybody experiences grief differently. And I'm here when and if you're ready. And another thing with the design, I tell people, some tattoo artists, they'll say, you get 2 changes. This is my art. And, this is what I want to do. And I've heard so many stories where people walk out saying, this isn't even really what I wanted, but I kind of got talked into it. I've heard that so many times. And I say to people, so we have a consultation, and then I say the design process is before the tattoo session, because I want the design to be done before they come to their tattoo session. And I said the in between, when we bounce back and forth, we'll do it over text or email, sometimes phone calls. I say, if you need to change it 100 times, then do it. This is super important. And then I say to them, this is a win-win, because your input makes the tattoo better. So it's no issue for me. In fact, it's always co-creatively makes a way better tattoo. So be picky, be bossy, be specific. And then I say, even if you come, we've got our tattoo and the design's done. And if you come, something changes, you're not ready, you want to change it, it's totally your body, your story, your journey, your process. I'm just the vehicle to help you make it happen.
That makes so much sense to me, because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm imagining that some of the changes they're making is because they're processing. They're processing their grief. They're processing their relationship, because it's all so symbolic. So I can imagine, like, no, I kind of want it tilted that way or that way. There's probably often some very symbolic meanings to that in regards to their grief or their relationship to that person. So I can see it as a journey for them that is allowing them to interact with, in a really unique way, with their grief, but like really be immersed in it. It's like an invitation to really step into it.
And then I even think the pain during the tattoo session, it almost anchors in or gives that grief or that pain almost a place to move through it as well, because it's painful to get a tattoo. And so even that process with the design, with the processing, and then sharing stories. And because my favorite thing is people's relationship. I tell my daughter, if you had a magic wand and lived on an island and could manifest anything you wanted in a second, and you literally could have anything you wanted, but nobody to share it with, you'd be bored in a day. And so the whole reason we're here is that human connection. And then there's, how many billion of people on the planet, yet we make eye contact with what percentage? And then out of those people, we love somebody. So that connection. And so I'm always fascinated about hearing stories, who were they? And then the funny things. And like, I love when I do a tattoo for a family. I just recently did a tattoo of a family of 4, mother, father, 2 sisters, memorializing their son and brother. I told them to bring snacks because we were going to be there all day. They showed up with a cooler and this like huge bag. I said, what's in that? A tent and a sleeping bag? They're like, just in case. I got to do like the one-on-one, the doors open, so they're in the other room. I can still hear everything, but got to engage one-on-one to hear their relationship with their loved one, but then also hearing them interacting with each other, and the father coming in and patting his daughter on the back. I walked into their room, and they, after the tattoos, they all got one. They did that, where you put your hand in the middle and 1, 2, 3, yoo-hoo. It was just so beautiful. It was just, love it.
That's an amazing connection. Just again, my curiosity, where do people choose to have these placed on their body? Do most people put them in places where they are easily seen publicly, or are they hidden?
The majority is on their left forearm right here, because they want to see it. This is the closest to their heart. A lot of people get it on their heart, but mostly where they can see it, where they can like look at it, where they can touch it, where they can hug it. And yeah.
That's funny because I have mine on the left forearm.
Oh,
so
nice.
There I am.
It's not a cremation tattoo, though, is it?
No. Maybe I need to step that one up.
Yeah. I had a lot of strange questions before we got together, and they really, I think, sort of are grounded in how has our relationship with ashes changed in 40 years, let's say, and versus the sense of, I've met many people who look at the ashes as their loved one. That's them. It's not a body anymore. And I could get into conversations about how we don't treat bodies the same way. And I've had people who would say, like, family members wanted parts of the ashes shared around, and they would go, no, I'm not separating my loved one. And I'm just curious as to how, I don't know how long you've been doing this, but how has this process, and I did a little bit more research and looked at, there's all kinds of different things that people are now doing with cremated remains. And I'm just wondering how that changes our relationship with cremated remains, and how that changes our relationship with our sense of our loved one bodily, and then post-bodily, I guess, once we're cremated. I just was curious if you had any thoughts about that.
Yeah, I think it's that on the same vein as the evolution of burial to cremation. So cremation was a kind of a shift in the way we view processing the body. And then I would imagine when cremation first started, it was, all kept together. And from my understanding, that's now evolved into, okay, well, if we all want a piece of our loved one, who does the body's home, like, where does the body remain? Is it just a mom and dad's, or like, what about brother and sister? And so then it started to partition. And so that evolution. And then I think in the last few years, the jewelry has really taken off. So a lot of people now physically wear the jewelry. I've heard, unfortunately, people come and, devastated because it's been lost. So that's one thing, that it's a beautiful idea, and I still think it's beautiful, but that physical piece can be lost. And I think that really... that's why I love the cremation tattoo, because you can't lose it. And then there's fingerprints in jewelry. So I think, because our culture is waking up to talking more about death in a sense, also the memorializing and the celebrating, like funerals aren't even called funerals anymore. They're called celebration of life. So it's just, I think we're transitioning in a better way around death as a culture, more of a celebration, more of a honoring. And that's one thing that I really want to celebrate, is people passing over. On my website, I'm not sure if you saw the legacy log page. So I really encourage my clients, I say, it's totally up to you. It's just part of what I offer. The legacy log page, because somebody said that people get forgotten when we stop talking about them. So my whole concept is, let's keep talking about them. Let's keep celebrating them. The legacy log page is a way for people to show their tattoo, show show the person or their loved ones, their animals, and then it's digital. It's, you can send it by text, and then their face comes up or their animal comes up, and then the write-up of what they feel about them. But also, because of the digital era, I can add videos. Like, for example, a young boy passed at 24 and he was a musician. So there's a bunch of videos of him singing. So you get to like see who they were.
Mhm.
And I think it's the jewelry and all that is just celebrating our loved ones. And I think that's really beautiful.
I think too that we're talking from a Western culture too. Much of the world treated the body after death with cremation, fire. Certainly, many religious groups use that. I'm also interested, and I'll just throw this out here: is there a danger? And I'm not sure that's the right word, but is there a danger of people living without the reality of death actually happening? So we want people with us in order to not believe they're really dead, and that separation and that loss of their physical presence with us, which in grief is important to acknowledge and important to live the reality of. So, there is certainly a pathological piece where people will deny the reality of the death, that it actually happened, and keeping cremation remains can allow people not to have to face that fact of death happening.
I think that, and this is an area where I touch on very delicately, and I tell this to my clients. For example, I've never lost a child, so I can't relate to a parent who has lost a child. I've never lost a loved one, like a partner, so I can't relate. And so I can't speak on somebody's experience of losing somebody and processing and maybe holding on to their remains in the hopes that they're not really dead, and trying to disbelieve that reality. But I think regardless of that transitional period of adjusting without them, the reality is they are gone. And that's a fact that can't be changed just by holding on to somebody's remains. I think that emotionally and spiritually, I'm not religious. I guess I'm spiritual, but I do believe, and I say this just from a first person experience, I do believe that their spirit is still with us. And I don't think that could be a negative. Like, I don't think that would hold them back in this physical world to believe that they're with us in the spiritual world. I believe that in the physical world, they're gone. And every day that's a reality that they can't change, even if they believe spiritually they're with us. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
I think that's an important distinction
Yeah.
to be made,
Mm-hmm.
because part of grief is learning how to live with the absence of the person.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that we don't still feel connected
Mm-hmm.
to the person,
Mm-hmm.
but we do have to ensure that we're learning how to be in a world where they're no longer.
Mm-hmm.
And if that distinction is clear and can be made, and the person understands that, then I think that's a good distinction for you to be making.
Mm-hmm.
Is that this doesn't make them alive.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't bring them back.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I found witnessing people's grief is that grief isn't transferable, meaning that a parent who lost a child, the grief of somebody losing their loved one isn't the same. It's a completely different grief. And so it can feel very, very, very isolating when you're, say, the only person in your group or your circle who has lost a child. It can be so isolating because nobody gets it. And one thing I really want to do, part of my legacy log, part of this whole business too, is connecting people that have had those similar losses. So for example, I tattooed two mothers who've lost a child and their children were both in their 20s. And they had met, just in talking, we found out that they had met in a grief group months ago and had lost contact. And so while I was tattooing the second mother, I correlated it. And then and I tell this to all my clients, I'll never post something or talk about somebody or connect somebody without their consent. So I privately asked, do you want to connect? Do you want to connect? They did. And so they reconnected. And that's another thing I really want to say is that, we're all human and our experiences are so unique, but we have to remind each other that we're not alone. We never really are. Well, I mean, we are alone, but you know what I mean? There is this support. And so really trying to connect people with that parallel grief and never claim that I can fully relate because I can't. And I like that. I hope that more people feel like, for example, the mother that lost her stillborn, she wants to talk about it because that specifically, for example, is such a, there's so many emotions attached to it, like shame or all these emotions that people don't give voice to it. And so she wants to talk about it so that people feel that there's a safe space to share and to connect. And
yeah. Kerri, it's big work that you're doing. And as we're talking, it's so clear to me you're doing something way more than ashes in ink and right? And you're purposely expanding your kind of what you're offering way beyond that. But even still, if we even just look at the process of the tattoo, it's a very intimate process you're stepping into with your clients. And I'm just wondering, how has that changed you? How has it impacted you?
I feel that I remember going out for coffee with a friend of mine 15 years ago, and he said he just ran into a medium or somebody, and she said to him, "You are doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing here on earth." And I remember when he told me that, I felt like I just wanted to cry because I knew I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. But of course, I sucked those emotions back and I was like, "I'm so happy for you." But now, like, I know every bone of my body, every fabric of my being that I'm exactly what I'm supposed to be doing here on earth. Like I was a painter and did a internment traveling art exhibit. I did mentorship with girls empowerment groups and how everything kind of weaves to now. And so I think because my passion and my love for humans is genuine, that the feeling I get connecting with people, I think it's a two-way street. I think people feel very comfortable to open up because I feel like I genuinely come from a place of non-judgment, like just open willingness to listen, wanting to listen and to hear. And I know that people, it's like being dealt a deck of cards. If somebody's dealt a deck of cards, they're going to handle that situation in that way. And so everybody's just showing up in the best way they can. And I know that. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it did. And what came through loud and clear is this is deeply meaningful work for you. And it really aligns with the essence of who you are and what you feel like you're meant to be doing.
Yeah.
And I have a hunch that that's also why it feels so meaningful for your clients too, right? It's the tattoo, but we know, like in our work, it's like, it's also the relationship.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just what comes out of it. It's like that there would be something really meaningful and a piece of healing that probably comes even moving through that process with you.
Thank you very much. Somebody just contacted me a couple of days ago, actually, who's covered in tattoos. And she said, and her husband say, we have our tattoo people. Like we've been going to the same person for, our whole life. All of these are from like our tattoo person. But when it comes to memorializing their dog of 15 years, and reading my stories, because I always like to give meaning behind the tattoos, or just share, not me give meaning, share their meaning behind the tattoo. They are coming to me for the cremation tattoo.
Mm.
And that means so much, because I know what it's like to have an artist that they can do what you want and you like their style and they've been doing it for years, to put your trust to a permanent piece of artwork into somebody new. That's a huge faith of trust.
Yes.
And I say that often to people. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, I'm not sure I heard earlier, Kerri, how long have you been doing this?
The business is a year and a half.
A year and a half. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
And it's certainly growing then.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very much.
And I was going to ask, is this all your business, or what percentage of your business is cremation tattoo?
Probably 70 to 80 now is cremation tattoos.
Okay.
Yeah.
I bet you're busy.
Yes.
And are you getting people from outside of Winnipeg? Are people starting to travel a distance for this?
Yep.
Yeah.
I got people a brother and sister from Australia came. Somebody's coming from Saskatchewan this year, and somebody is coming from Ontario.
Mhm.
We're having a consultation this week.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Well, maybe after this podcast, you might be getting a lot. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it says something about the work that you do and who you are. Is that I think you called your environment sterile, but then I would say probably you used more spa like, and I would assume it's calming as opposed to.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all have an image of your run of the mill everyday tattoo parlor, and it's busy and it's hectic,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of flames and swords and snakes and stuff,
Yeah.
all over the place. And even your website sort of emanates a calm, caring, different type of experience that you're going to get when you come to see you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tell everyone my room is private, door is shut, box of Kleenex, and whatever you want. If you want to have people come with you, if you want to play your own music, this is your space, your time. And I just am the vehicle to connect them with their loved ones.
Nice.
Kerri, as we start to wind down, is there anything we haven't asked or we haven't spoken about that is important?
Well, you mentioned my website. I'm excited because I want to build a resource page on it to connect, because oftentimes, so for example, like I was saying about grief being something unique to what they're experiencing, I want to be able to offer, for example, a lot of people, say in their 50s and 60s, who have lost a loved one. So single after 50, 60, after being married for 50 years. So, a resource page because I know there's Facebook groups of single after 50, death doulas, psychic mediums, your podcast. So
Yeah.
I want
Podcasts. Yeah.
Yes, I want to build a resource page just so I can help people, just to direct them, to help them navigate further into their group and connect with others and help. I just want to help their process. So I'm working on that.
Can you share your website?
Yes, my website is cremationtattoos.com.
Well, isn't that apropos?
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you personally. This has
Mhm.
been a very, very interesting discussion, and I've been looking forward to it. So I think, as you have alluded to, the whole death area is evolving in so many different ways, and that's a good thing. It'll be interesting to see where it all ends up. But I think this certainly is a piece that will involve many, many people in terms of how they might see the memorialization of a loved one. So thank you, Kerri.
Yeah, my pleasure. And if anyone listening is curious, I offer free consultations. We can do it on the phone via Zoom, and you can just ask questions and I will answer them, and would love to help you memorialize your loved ones.
Thank you, Kerri. Your passion and your care for the work and how you do the work just really shines through in this conversation. And I hope that this episode can also be a way that you can share with potential clients about the process. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to What Now on the Threshold of Life, Death, and Grief. What Now is produced in partnership with Hospice Peterborough, dedicated to providing compassionate care and support to individuals and families facing life-limiting illness and loss. What Now is recorded at Thin Spaces Studio in Peterborough, Ontario. Special thanks to Paradise Garage for providing the music. Technical support is by Sean Heichert and audio engineering by Kevin Fleming. More episodes of What Now are available for free on most major podcast platforms. If you found value in our conversations, please support us by following the show, leaving a 5-star review, and sharing with your friends and loved ones. If you'd like to support the essential work of Hospice Peterborough, please consider visiting hospicepeterborough.org/donate. Your contribution helps us continue to provide vital care and support. Until next time, may you find peace and comfort on your journey.